Welcome to amidaedutech.com. Subscribe to Amida Edutech for more updates.
Shekhar, in 5 major cabinet decisions taken today, as the Minister of Information and Broadcasting Prakash Javadekar spoke about in his press briefing, he mentioned that the banking system needed a cleanup. Against this, how do you see the scheme of amalgamation of Lakshmi Bank with DBS Bank?
I think the speed in which the RBI proposal was taken up by the Union Cabinet without further loss of time itself shows that whenever a situation is coming where the financial stability of a big bank like Lakshmi Bank comes, then I think the government doesn't want to waste any more time so that the depositors are assured and overall banking system also gets a message. Straight away because as Union Minister Prakash Javadekar ji pointed out, the decision is to protect, 20 lakh depositors' interest. And by protecting their interest, you are immediately, conveying a signal that the stability of the banking and the financial system is very important. And with this cabinet decision, that the limit that was placed on the depositors to draw money from the bank, that limitation has gone now. Because people were worried, why this limitation has come. And I think the very important point is DBS was the first foreign bank to receive a banking license, way back in 2014. And they had set up a subsidiary, Indian subsidiary. And what is happening is DBS and Lakshmi Bank, when they got together, which has been seen as a very positive development by even international analysts like JP Morgan and Moody, they have all said that this is going to open up a lot of opportunities. And in fact, way back in September last year, you saw how RBI had put the Lakshmi Bank under the prompt corrective action because as soon as the bank was reporting net losses were widening and right in the second quarter which ended in September 2020, they had reported a loss of 397 crore. And subsequently on 26th September, the shareholders of the bank had voted out 7 members of the bank. And then RBI had appointed a separate committee to manage the whole thing. And that was under the independent directors. And what is going to happen is 2 things will happen. One, the merger will strengthen the DBS business position in India by adding new and retail and small, medium-sized customers. And the existing depositors are going to be protected. And the third point that which I think Javadekar was very specific and very categorical was that the liability will be fixed now because whatever has gone wrong in terms of bad loans, that will be fixed and those who have made the mistakes, whether they are genuine mistakes or some irregularities were involved, that will be known through the inquiry. But definitely the approach is that any banking management will have to face scrutiny and will have to face action. I think the very important thing is the speed without loss of time because any further loss of time or further dilly-dallying in the issue would have affected the morale of the depositors. That the government has taken into account and come with a very quick decision. I would say this is a very prudent step because you have to save the depositors and also you'll have to mitigate the systemic disruption because whenever banks' credibility or banks come under this kind of pressure or tension, it affects the entire system because we have seen how NPAs were created previously, particularly over a period of time and finally it hit the ceiling. So I think the government doesn't want to repeat of that kind of situation. So whenever you are seeing some bank assets coming under stress, because the interest of the depositors is paramount and this is going to actually, what will happen is the image of the government and the regulator because the Reserve Bank of India also has to be complimented for acting very fast for such timely action. So I think this is a very good thing that has happened as far as everybody is concerned. And as I said earlier, this is being viewed with welcome by most of the rating agencies. And this bank is a very old bank. It's a 94-year-old bank. And DBS Bank, we all know the parent bank is incorporated in Singapore. And that bank has a very strong capital support. And it's one of the leading financial services group in Asia with presence in over 18 markets, though it is headquartered and listed in Singapore.
And Mr. Javadekar also mentioned the 12 points program proposed by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman under the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Would you like to throw more light on this?
Because she had specifically mentioned the 20 lakh Atmanirbhar ambitious project. One of the main thing was infrastructure, support for infrastructure. That lot of capital infusion will be done to actually insulate banks who are financing mega infrastructure projects. So if you consider that objective that was announced by the Finance Minister, so today's Union Cabinet decision for more capital infusion into this DIF infrastructure debt financing platform which actually consists of the NIF Infrastructure Finance Limited and ASEEM Infrastructure Finance Limited. So today the cabinet has approved 6,000 crore of capital infusion into this fund over the next 2 years. And apart from that, 7,000 crore will be mobilized as equity. And then 1 lakh crore is going to come from the bond market. So ideally, this approach is to see that the NIF through its Strategic Opportunities Fund, which owns a major portion in these companies, has already invested more than close to about 1,900 crore. So this investment will continue to support the companies which are already investing in these mega infrastructure projects. And the infrastructure project, which Nirmala Sitharaman ji has pointed out, was one of the key areas of the Prime Minister's push. And so this current proposal will see that this government investment will further scale up the potential and will bring in more impact in that infrastructure debt financing space. So overall idea is that if this platform is strengthened so that it can raise enough resources to extend debt support to the banks, which are going to finance more than 1,10,000 crore projects by 2025, and infrastructure is going to be a very important thrust area in pushing growth, particularly towards the objective of $5 trillion economy, and also for employment generation, considering the fact that now the economy is slowly picking up. And because by giving more capital, the banks, they will have more advantage to not only keep financing the ongoing projects, but also to look for, greenfield projects. So that's a very important thing. And all the infrastructure projects, as we know, are executed through the special purpose vehicle. And this is going to actually see that the bond market is also sufficiently enthused to, contribute for infrastructure development.
You also mentioned in the current COVID scenario, will the implementation strategy or targets, will they be affected, or do you think the way ahead is, more or less clear and hence we can kind of look up?
I think in terms of long-term strategy and objectives, it's absolutely clear, because we have heard both the Prime Minister as well as the Finance Minister, point out the fact that there are already green shoots and several indications saying that the economy is now actually reviving, and in the first quarter of next year, we are going to see definitely some very, very positive results. And this confidence is also expressed in the market. We are already seeing how the market has been responding to various proposals, and there is a feeling that probably we are coming out of the worst phase of our economy. So definitely, in terms of short-term strategy, perhaps there could be further reassessment of already the steps taken, and wherever needed, some correctives if necessary, or if some more additional help. Because right now the Finance Minister is working on a budget which will be presented in the first week of February. So already a lot of inputs are going into it already, and with so many things already announced, so we can see that these proposals are further strengthened and streamlined towards the objectives that have been set out.
So in short, this will act as a catalyst in attracting more investment into the infrastructure sector, right?
Absolutely. And because the Atmanirbharta element is now going to be the basis for everything that we are going to do in the next couple of years.
Cabinet also approves a FDI of 2,480 crores in ATC Telecom Infrastructure Private Limited, and by Messrs, this is ATC Asia Pacific Private Limited. Any comments on that?
Well, I would only draw attention to what Union Minister Prakash Javadekar ji said, that we were talking of green shoot signs. Actually, these are more than show that the telecom is already signed that the inflow of foreign investment to India to spur economic growth, and as far as for more innovative approach, particularly in the telecom sector, has already been seen. FDI up to 100% is allowed in the telecom services sector, where you have 49% can come under automatic route, and beyond 49% they go through the government route, subject to certain security and licensing conditions as notified by DOT. Now, in this particular case, this company, which is the ATC Telecom Infrastructure Private Limited, is engaged in the business of providing telecom infrastructure, particularly towers, construction of tower to telecom operators. And this shows the fact that the company has approached for permissions is itself a measure of confidence in the future of the telecom industry in India. And normally what is happening is that up to 5,000 crore, actually you don't need any clearance, but beyond that you do need support. Now, what is going to happen in this telecom infrastructure private limited, this company is going to actually, it's a permission for acquisition of 12.32% of the shares of ATC by another company called ATC Asia Pacific Private Limited. And this is actually part of the Tata Teleservices and Tata Sons Private Limited project. And this will lead to as I said, nearly a foreign investment inflow of about 2,500 crores. And this is actually the message that with this kind of infusion of FDI funds, we are going to see that a lot of global interest is being generated. Though right now we are recovering from that slowdown of the economy first, then followed by the situation caused by the pandemic for the last 10 months. Now we are moving out from that.
The minister also pointed out that telecom sector is an ever-growing sector and almost 120 crore connections, mobile, users are there in India. So I think it's a very good and a very welcome kind of measure and the decision taken by the cabinet.
Particularly, the creation of towers. Because we all know how a lot of us have been facing the difficulties and companies specifically engaged in setting up this infrastructure because we are also looking at the possibility of 5G being introduced in this country in probably in a couple of years or in 3 years. So if you're talking of improved new technology like 5G, so it's imperative that, at the ground level, we do have the basic infrastructure ready. Because one of the problems faced by us in this country is the signal problem. So therefore, with this kind of FDA proposal, it means these companies which engaged in setting up the basic infrastructure, they are going to get a boost and so that they can go about setting up those towers in all over the country. So that by the time the new technology is available, we have the available infrastructure.
The cabinet also approves the memorandum of understanding on cooperation in the field of physical culture and sport among the BRICS nations. How is this going to play out at ground level?
We have already seen that the cooperation among the BRIC countries has been growing at a very fast pace. And we have already seen cooperation happening in different sectors. Now, this particular is to see that, these 5 countries, India, Brazil, China, Russia, and South Africa, come together in the field of sharing their knowledge and expertise in terms of sports science and sports medicine. Now, Russia has a lot of expertise in this area. So does China, and India too has developed its own expertise and technology in these areas. So this is, whether in terms of sports science, sports medicine, and coaching techniques. So this is going to help particularly our sports persons in national tournaments and bilateral relations.
And another MOU that the minister mentioned, this is between the Institute of CAs of India and the Registered Controllers of Netherlands. Now, this is again going to give the Indian CA Institute, Philip, a boost.
Over the years, we have seen, our Institute of Chartered Accountants, ICAI, has been, actually being recognized by many other countries as one which has been pioneering professional chartered accountancy in our country. So there is a lot of interest in terms of to know the best of the accounting practices and auditing practices. So we have seen this kind of MOUs have been happening with various other accounting bodies with other countries. So in keeping with that, this is to bring the premier institutes of both the countries, particularly the VRC of the Netherlands and ICAI of India. They are able to share unrestricted information concerning accountancy profession and as well as also to help, knowing each other's emerging new technologies in this field. And I think there is scope under the MOU for offering professional courses also, whether concerning accounting or financial information technology and audit. So what we are going to see is there will be a lot of professional engagement, technical research, and also training, professional accountancy training. This is something which has been long sought after by, professional bodies with ICAI. And ICAI has a strong membership base of 15 members in the European region. And it has already 80 members in Netherlands, who are member of that.
So in short, it's going to go a long way in strengthening and development of the accounting, financial and audit knowledge base between the Netherlands and India.
ICAI is a very old professional body which was set up in 1949 and that is for regulating chartered accountants in India, and we have seen that accountancy is a very professional area where we are seen with more and more companies and individuals, business organizations getting more and more compliant with the tax laws. So the challenge before the chartered accountants has also been increasing, and through this we have seen the institute play a pioneering role.
Thank you so much, Shekhar, for joining us.